planks that were 12 to 14 inches wide, 20 to 30 feet long, and they were just floating through the air like toothpicks.
And at that point, the manager at the McDonald's announced, everybody please just go downstairs and follow us down there. There is a tornado heading in our direction, so please just follow us very quietly, and everybody did.
Saw the trailer come up off the ground, turn over on its side, and come back down. So then I said, wait a minute, there's something strange going on here.
It was the worst tornado outbreak in U.S. history. 148 tornadoes, 48 of them killers. Over a period of 20 hours, tornadoes struck in 13 states. By the next morning, 307 people lay dead. Xenia, Ohio lost 34 citizens, the most fatalities in one town that April of '74. "20 years later, the Xenia High School class of '74.
We only sat together since second grade. You know, you think I should know who this is.
We're here, baby. We're ready to go.
Really? How are you?
The streakers went by and we were being mooned.
Oh, I remember
while we were
that.
in the Beaver Creek
Oh,
School.
yeah.
In many ways, an ordinary class reunion. But not all the memories are ordinary. They were the last senior class of the old Xenia High School. Before they graduated, it was leveled by the '74 tornado.
Do you remember the Red Cross, those little sandwiches they brought in?
Yes, in our little bags.
She said that one of the other teachers destroyed everything. Went in after a tornado and pitched it.
Oh, it didn't blow away.
If it had hit earlier, you know, everybody would have been in school, too.
Maureen Marks stayed at school that day for a play rehearsal.
Well, it was about, the tornado hit at 4:40, and at a little after school let out around 3.
Marty Stewart was at the local McDonald's.
And we're sitting there, and you could see the storm, like the sky was getting dark. It was like a black color, and then they were announcing that there was a tornado warning for our city, which you always think, well, it's not going to ever come here, so.
And there was really no place for us to go. Some of the classrooms were locked, the offices were locked, the girls' restroom had a lot of glass in the windows, and so we ended up in the hallway. It hit very quickly because we didn't have a lot of time. And they say it was extremely loud, and I think it was, but it was just, what I really remember was the impact. It hit and it picked us up and it just pushed us all together.
You almost could lose your breath because it felt like it was like sucking the air out of your lungs, too.
It was over. It was just over that quickly. There were 2 buses on the stage where we had been practicing. The auditorium had imploded.
It was almost like you were kind of in a dream, too, because this really happened our senior year. Now, this did not happen. We're just dreaming this, and we're going to wake up, and it's going to be back to the way it used to be, but it wasn't.
The lives of the members of the class of '74 were changed profoundly by the tornado, but they all survived it. And that was the theme we heard throughout Xenia: survival. Tuffy Snyder's story of survival has become folk legend in Xenia. He owned his own pharmacy in downtown Xenia in 1974, and his favorite watering hole was the Hofbrau House across the street. The Hofbrau House beer cooler was Tuffy's storm shelter.
I walked back out from the pharmacy, and that's when I looked west from the corner of town, and 2 blocks away, and maybe 2 blocks in the air, it was the most awesome thing I'd ever seen. I couldn't tear myself away from looking at it. I would have stood there and let it blow right over me had I not shaken my head. My God, my friends are over at the bar. This is really coming. And then I ran back across the street, told them that it's here. And there's some debate about how many of us wedged ourselves into the beer cooler. Some say 8, some say 13 or 14, but it was really a cozy arrangement in the beer cooler.
Yeah, of course.
Sheila Edwards' story is the stuff of nightmares. The back of her head was cut from ear to ear, her neck broken as she used her body to shelter the 5 children in her home and managed to save their lives.
And then I heard the hail and stuff, and then I heard glass break, and at the same time I heard glass break. It's just like a big whoosh. I mean, I couldn't feel anybody anymore. I didn't know. I knew they were gone out from under me. I wasn't sure where I was. And I just got up, and I should have 5 kids, so I found 4. Found Stacy's hand sticking out in the rubble, and just picked him up, took the 2x4s and things off him, and walked through my backyard. I found out the next day the people I babysat for was right across the street. People next to them had lost their 15-year-old son. The lady right next to them was 8 months pregnant, Joyce Beacon. She was killed. And behind me, about 3 houses down, little Brian Blakely was killed. He was 5. And right on Gayhart, which is at our other corner, family, a mother and a child were killed. So it was right there all around us.
The 34 people who died at Xenia were far too many to lose, but so many more died at Murfreesboro in 1925.
Xenia is typical of the kind of tornado that would have produced 100 to 200 deaths 50 or 60 years ago, before any watch warning or awareness was in place. Even people in Xenia who say they were not warned had their life saved because they were actually getting 20 years of awareness and preparedness training through the media, and they knew what to do. They went outside. They were looking at the sky. 50 or 60 years ago, the idea of a tornado would have never occurred to them.